Welcome home, neighbors.
Welcome home, neighbors.
Hello, neighbors.
We're listening from
Arizona,
Florida,
Maryland, New York, New Jersey,
Indianapolis,
California,
Utah,
Michigan.
Iowa, Massachusetts,
Georgia, Canada,
Our home resort is
Animal Kingdom,
Polynesia,
Bay Lake Tower,
Old Key West,
Riviera,
Boardwalk,
Alani Resort,
Hilton Head,
Boulder Ridge, Copper Creek,
Grand Floridian,
Saratoga Springs.
Beach Club.
and Wilderness Lodge.
And you're listening to
and you're listening
You're listening
to
to my
my
Welcome home, neighbors, to My DVC Points Live. My name is Chad Pennycuff. I am your host tonight. Tonight, we are talking about the best credit cards to use. I guess, let me correct that. The best rewards credit cards to use to pay for your Disney Cruise Line, and the best card to use on your day-to-day spend so that you can come back in and get that Disney Cruise Line paid for, or you can come back in and book a Disney vacation. Spoiler alert, we're talking about the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve card tonight, and we'll be going into this card with a deep dive. So if you've been following my channel for about the last year plus, I've been kind of poking around in this credit card travel space. I've done quite a few episodes with Lynn from Families Fly Free, who has kind of taught me a lot about that and kind of converted me from a team cashback over to a team travel in the credit card user space, which what that means is I was solely focused on getting cash back in my cards. And she really opened my eyes up to this world of travel. And I start seeing everybody get these outsized redemptions. So we're going to talk about some of the problems that I found in this, specifically for Disney fans wanting to get free travel, and some of the solutions as well. So let me come back in and welcome to the show tonight. I've got two of my friend co-hosts from the credit card community space, and that would be Stan the Credit Frog. Welcome to the show tonight.
Hey there, Chad. It's nice to be here. I'm really excited to talk about my favorite card, which is the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve card. And shout out to all of you guys in the chat there. I hope you guys have a good stream with the rest of us. And Chad is the expert here on Disney, but I know a thing or two about credit cards. So I'm interested to see where this conversation takes us.
Yeah, so very much so as well. And let's welcome my other friend from the credit card space, and that would be Dugroz.
Hi, Chad.
Dugroz Report. So let me see if I can get this right. So welcome. It's Dugroz from Dugroz Reports. Did I get that right?
It's pretty close. I usually say Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports. And yes,
Okay.
I'm a big fan of the Altitude Reserve. It's my sweetheart card. I've got the original style, if you like that, and I've got the newer style for my auth user. So pick your style. They do the same thing.
Well, let's come back in on some of the problem statement here. And as Disney fans, we see the little credit card booths throughout the parks, and we're just, instantly fans of the Chase Disney Visa card. And I've had this card it's probably my third oldest card. And because who doesn't want Darth Vader on a credit card, man? That's like ultimately cool. You know what I'm saying? And every time you swipe, you get a little dose of pixie dust. The problem with the card is it only earns 1% cash back. And there is a version you can pay $49 for and get 2% back on some categories. But as we're going to discuss tonight, 2% is like chump change. It's not even like worthy of our time to come back in and talk about. It's cool. And yes, if you get one of those cards, you're going to get a redemption card like this, that you'll transfer all of your reward dollars onto it. And then any place at a Disney park, resort, whatever, you can swipe the card and use it as a gift card. But then you're not earning on whatever you redeem on. And I've got problems with the whole Chase Disney Visa card. I did a previous episode. You can find it on our channels called Friends Don't Let Friends Use the Chase Disney Visa card. And some of my good friends from the credit card community space, Mr. Anthony Bencher, who's in the chat tonight, and Chad's Money Minutes, joined me to come back in and kind of unpack that. And in that show, we talked about two other cards, like this Capital One Venture X card gets 2% back on everything. And it's got a really easy to use annual fee, but I still looked at it and I was like, 2%. I keep seeing all these guys talk about free travel and they're getting 4 cents per point and 4% back. And I'm like, there's gotta be a way to do this. And guys, help me out here, because every card that I've looked at, and trust me, this year, within the last 2 years since I started this, I've tried American Express cards, Platinum and Gold. I've tried the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, which does get 1.5% back on travel if you book it through the portal. But guess what, guys? You can't book Disney vacations through the Chase travel portal. So I did this huge level of research asking all of my friends, where can we book a Disney vacation with credit card points? The answer is goose eggs, zero. Nobody can sell a Disney vacation through their travel portal. And I guess that's a great thing because it locks it up for all of our travel agent friends, which we have a ton of travel agent friends in our community. And we love you guys. And I've got great news for you. This solution tonight lets us use our favorite travel agent to book our Disney vacations. We can book them straight with Disney. We can book them through a travel agent. This solution works with both of those. So guys, give me a rundown here of the Altitude Reserve card. I'll let you guys pitch it because I originally learned about it from you. So let me come back in and have you guys share with us something a little like an overview here.
I guess I'll start first here. So thanks for that rundown, Chad. I had no idea that there was no way you could book a Disney vacation on a travel portal except for with Disney. So that's big because that means to do a Disney vacation, you have to use basically a cashback type of credit card. Yeah. And because of that, the US Bank Altitude Reserve is an excellent fit for that sort of use case. Now, of course, there are other cards that you mentioned, like the Cap One Venture X or the Chase Sapphire Reserve, for example, that have transferable currencies that can book you things like flights to get to your Disney vacation. Of course, if you want to do it all inclusive, that's different. But for the US Bank Altitude Reserve, that's a really nice card to use for that because it has this very key multiplier that's super helpful for almost all you can spend on, and that's the mobile wallet category. The mobile wallet category is 3x, and it's also included with travel, which is also 3x as well. Now, there's also other categories like the Altitude Reserve portal for 5x, which is not relevant, or the 1x for everything else, which is also not relevant. You're really aiming to use this card for travel, and it's like select travel. There are certain categories that are missing, like transit categories. But mobile wallet will cover almost every category you can think of, from groceries to restaurants to gas to any kind of other type of shopping. As long as a place has a tap to pay, you can use mobile wallets.
Prom dresses. Like one of the first purchases I got on this card was a prom dress. If you're in the credit card space, like you could come back in and tap to pay at the prom dress place. And my daughter's prom dress, I got $11.25 back on a $250 prom dress. Like it's insane.
That's amazing.
Like who would have thought prom dresses would be a multiplier category as well? And so you might be able to buy Disney park tickets with the bill. That I don't know. So most of my crowd is talking about annual passes. And the other park ticket trip that we know of is buying them on Undercover Tourist. And in the Chase ecosystem, that'll code as travel. And it'll also code as travel over at the Venture X series. So I know some people that'll use a Venture X card to do that and pay for their park tickets that way as well. But when it comes to buying annual passes, you're buying them straight from Disney. And I don't know that you'll be able to, unless you check in first and then add the annual pass to your resort portfolio, then you could probably use the Altitude Reserve for that because it's going to code as a travel hotel on your your deal there. But just buying them straight up from Disney, they classify as entertainment. And the best card I know for that would be a Saver card, which is 4x or 3x, depending on the flavor that you have there. But the whole problem, go ahead.
Can you buy annual passes with Apple Pay or Google Pay?
You can if you do it in person. So if you were to go in person, so I will be doing that this next year. Well, I take that back. So what I'll be doing is I'll be going to Myers when I'm in Michigan and buying $1,000 of Disney gift cards and using tap to pay at the grocery store, getting 10% back in free groceries. Right. So now I'm getting like 14.5% back because I'll get 10% back in free groceries plus 4.5 from using tap to pay. And I'll be paying for my annual passes with gift cards. So, but that's kind of like a pro level strategy. And yeah, any place you can use gift cards at, you can also get 4.5 if you can use tap to pay. And that's a killer feature here.
Dugroz, you want to cover why it's 4.5x on the US Bank Altitude Reserve?
Yeah, I was thinking we could go one of two directions. We could list all the different places we can think of that take tap to pay, or we could explain how we turn 3x into 4.5. Let's go ahead with the how to turn 3 into 4.5. So yeah, you got this guy saved on your mobile wallet, and you tap to pay, and that gives you 3 points per dollar. But the way you get to 1.5, technically there's two options. One we don't care about at all, and one we care about. The one that we don't care about is using the travel portal that US Bank has. But as Chad just explained, you can't book your Disney vacations through the travel portal anywhere, including US Bank. The other feature, the one we do care about, is called real-time rewards. And the weird thing is, US Bank does a terrible job of marketing this. Like, they barely even explain it on their website. It's sort of like you have to sign up for the credit card, and then you're allowed to read the terms and conditions that explain it. But the general idea for real-time rewards is that when you make a purchase that is in an eligible category, in this case, travel, and we can loop back around to what counts as travel, you'll get a text message on your phone that says, you have this many points. Would you like to use this many points to redeem them? Here's an example from...
Yeah, sorry about that. It's my poor graphics on StreamYard.
That's all right.
Allows me to cover your face with this. So
here's an example. This is from my phone from earlier this week. Actually, I drove down to Southern Illinois to view the solar eclipse on, well, I said last week, so I meant.
Yep.
And rented a car, and it just sends you this message that says, do you want to use this many points? And it comes out to 1.5 cents each. You just text back the word redeem. I've always done it in all capital letters, and I know that works. So since that works, that's what I'll say you should do, is just do it in all capital letters.
I do the same.
Just to be on the safe side, since that's what their example says. No space at the end. And it can vary anywhere from 2 minutes to like an hour. You'll get a text back that says it was successful. And then within usually 2 to 3 business days tops, they'll just put a statement credit right on your account for whatever amount you used.
yeah, now you were telling me a bonus here as well. You get to double dip on that because travel counts as a 3x category. So if you spent $1,000 on travel, you're going to get 3,000 points as well. Correct. You're going to earn, but then you're also going to use what you have earned to kind of erase or pay yourself back or get a statement credit for those points at 1.5 cents. And that's how we get to 4.5. So you're going to earn 3x at mobile
total
wallet.
Double dip.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did the math on that, and it ends up being like 4.7 what you spend on a cruise. Like if you were to, use your gift card trick and then pay the last of it with the credit card in order to come back in and get that back from you. So I got really excited when I figured this out. And so as Stan mentioned, you can't see all the terms and conditions until you actually get the card. So I had these guys like link the terms and conditions in the PDF for me. And I don't have it to share with you, but specifically it lists Disney resorts as an eligible category. So I know if you're going to Disney World or Disneyland and you're staying on property, those charges will count. So I did do some tests as soon as I got the card, and I did a DVC loan payment on it, 1x only. And then I did a DVC dues payment, 1x only. Now I will tell you as well, your Chase Sapphire Reserve, Chase cards count that as travel. So you're going to get the travel multiplier there. So I will stick to paying my dues and my loan payments with my Chase card to get 3x back on that. Because there's really no good way to use Apple Wallet to pay dues or do loan payments. Disney just hasn't built that into the website for us yet. So that's where I've got to come back in and lean on some other solutions here as well. But to me, this was like mind blown that I could do this. The other thing that I figured out with this is I know we've got a lot of great travel agents in our community, and a lot of them hate me when I talk about Costco travel, but it really is the cheapest place to buy a Disney cruise. And I love supporting local travel agents. If you've got one, that's great. And I, for my day job, work in a call center. So I am not the least bit afraid of calling into Costco Travel's call center. And as a matter of fact, I know the people because I've ran into them at conventions from Costco Travel. So it's like I have a professional relationship with the people that run their call center. So I'm very comfortable doing Costco Travel's call center. So what that means is I can do that. And when you give that Costco Travel the credit card, they give it to Disney and the charges actually shows up as a charge straight from Disney Cruise Line. And looking into the terms and conditions of the US Bank Altitude Reserve, it specifically lists cruise lines as eligible for real-time rewards. So that's why we come back in and say, I think this is the best card possible to use for Disney Cruise Line. Because when I started this journey, I was like, okay, hey, I can use, Chase Ultimate Reward points, transfer them to Southwest, get some great flights. I've got my flights covered through this way. But what I really want is, how do I pay for a Disney cruise, right? How do I cover my dues? And how do I cover DVC payments? Well, as we covered, US Bank Altitude Reserve isn't doing that well, but it is hitting a home run here on the cruise line page. And so Tim is saying that he bought Disney gift cards from the grocery store, got 5x US ultimate reward points, and they have gift cards up to $500. Yes, when that rotating category is at 5x, that's a great way to do it. I would choose that method over 4.5% from the US Bank Altitude Reserve any day. Like, I think that was a really, really great move. The problem is you're limited to $1,500 there per quarter. So that's 3 $500 gift cards, and then you're done. Now, I do know of people that have like 3 or 4 of those cards, and then they hit $1,500 on each of them.
Between my wife and I, we have 4.
Okay, see what I'm saying? Like,
flex.
But yeah,
Nice.
it's point well made, Dugroz. And so I think that's a very valid strategy there, right? It's the player 1, player 2. That's a whole nother thing into this with referring your spouse or your domestic partner or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and kind of doing the referrals back and forth. And you get this card, I get this card. And we kind of divide and conquer. It's a great method there as well. Stan, we also, in my research I came across one of your videos, and I want to share this back because some people may like this. And I thought I really considered it, but I really didn't. It didn't really feel 100% right to me. And I'll tell you the reason why. Let me pull up this window. So Stan's got this great video on the best Bank of America catch-all card. And Stan, give us the 20-second rundown, and you guys can just Google Stan the Credit Frog best Bank of America catch-all card to get a link to the video, or maybe Gina can post it out for us. But give us the quick rundown of this.
Yeah, so the Bank of America credit cards are one of those cards that aren't really that good if it's just by itself. But if you start to bank with Bank of America and have assets with them, they become the most powerful credit cards basically in the game when it comes to cashback. And the reason for that is if you have a certain level of assets, you can get a 25, 50, or 75% boost on the base multiplier of the card. And for a lot of these credit cards, there are 1.5x for everything with no cap. But if you get a 75% boost of that with your Platinum Honors, or you have $100,000 in assets with Bank of America, that actually lets you get that boost to 2.625x points back on everything. And that's pretty incredible on just a no annual fee card, and there's no annual fee options. There's also annual fee options for that too. Of course, $100,000 sounds like a lot, but it's not just in a checking or a savings account, but also can be in an investment account as well, specifically a self-directed brokerage account with Merrill Edge. So if you're doing some investing on the side, you're kind of later on in life, you likely will have some amount of assets to put into that system so you can actually reap the rewards of those credit card boosts, which is very, very cool.
It really is. And to me, I've already done that with Chase, where I've rolled enough over there to get their preferred client or premier client or whatever they call it, private client, something like that. And it looks like this was Bank of America's version of it. And it's really not that difficult if you're in your 30s or 40s to have the minimum amount in an IRA. And when you change jobs, just roll it over there. And if you're team cash back, 2.625 is smoking, but it's still not as good as 4.5. And 4.5 was just a game changer to me. And so Dugroz has got a video here on this as well. And let me come back in and that he's talking about the Altitude Reserve card, where if you want to go deeper on this, check out his card on it. I know, Stan, you've probably got some on there as well. But Doug, give us a little bit of a rundown here on your video.
Well, I mentioned before we started, I made this video in 2020, so it's a little hard for me to remember every single detail. But I suppose it could be good or bad depending how you think about it. The Altitude Reserve hasn't changed much in a long time. There's been little tweaks here and there, but US Bank has kept it pretty much the same ever since I made this video back in my halcyon days of 2020. But yeah, I think we've pretty much already hit on why I love it, and that's the key of the video is, so I'll just mention a couple other things that come to mind. If you don't want to use it for your Disney cruise, I think it's the ultimate car rental card for a few different reasons. First of all, we already talked about real-time rewards, and I've probably used this 7 to 10 times on rental cards. It triggers that real-time reward. So effectively, I'm getting a net redemption at 4.5%. Secondly, it has primary rental car insurance. So if you get in a wreck, they should cover the whole thing. Fortunately, I've never had to test that feature, so I don't have any personal data points on that. In other words, you don't have to run it through your personal car insurance. A lot of credit cards will have what we call secondary car rental.
That is
insurance
key right there, because I know a lot of people will rent a car when they come to Walt Disney World, especially since we've lost our Magical Express, our free transportation from MCO to the resort. And so having a credit card that's going to cover an accident for you is key. Like that's awesome. And yeah, I plan on using this for my rental car as well. As a matter of fact, I told my wife for our vacation this summer, help me hit this sign-up bonus for this $50,000 and get the $750 of travel. And that covers our car rental in Disneyland and at Alani this summer as well. Mm-hmm. So she was like, oh, we don't have to pay for credit, for car rentals, and you've got it covered on this card. Well, yeah, I'll just go get our Disney gift cards on it and pick it up. And, so we've been putting all of our spend on it as well. We'll probably hit the minimum spend in no time flat. But the other thing that I want to point out, and this is really a unique feature of this card, and I want to talk about kind of creator integrity. And the thing that you don't hear about this card out there all that much is because there's no referral links for this card. I can't come back in here and pitch this card to you and say, hey, click my link, and then I get a kickback or a bonus or extra points for you using it. Stan can't, Dugroz can't. But these guys have covered this card with honesty because they're like, hey, we are great creators. We're here for our audience. We're here to give you guys good information. And it really fits well with what we do here at MyDVC Points. We do grassroots stuff that's designed to help people out. And so we are covering this card on our channel just the same way you guys did, because we're that committed to doing what's best for our audience and helping them out. So I think that's one of the reasons why this card doesn't get a lot of love in the blog space and the credit card YouTuber space and all of that. Would you guys agree with that? What's your takes?
Well, I would say that a lot of creators out there are doing a really good job, especially credit card creators, because you see a lot of them actually using the cards that they're talking about, whether it be Amex or Chase or what have you, but they're using their cards in a way that supplements how they basically live their life. And I think having that personal experience is very important, because it can give you a really good way to tell a story of how that card has impacted you in your life. And for myself and for, of course, Mr. Dugroz as well, we have been using the Altitude Reserve in our daily lives, myself for only about 6 months, but Dugroz for certainly many, many years. And so being able to talk about this card and just explaining how much it has impacted our lives is really, really important to tell. Because this card, it's good for Disney, and that's basically why we're here and talking about it. But this card is just a great, simple, easy-to-use card. It has a very straightforward multiplier with a straightforward redemption option, and you don't have to think about it. It's like literally the card I use for almost everything, and now maybe 90% of my transactions go through this card because I don't have to think about it, which is really incredible and not something you can say about a lot of cards out there.
Yeah, I think it's cool. 100%. And I don't mean to throw any shade at anybody because I know we've got a lot of great creators that are on here, and I got to catch up with some comments on tonight and give them a shout out for joining us and keying in with this. I know Anthony is in here. He's another great guy. He was on our show last time as well. And
Good to see Anthony.
Looking down the list here. So Matt Clausen is on. He's
Our boy
another
Matt
great.
Clausen.
Hey, Matt.
He's another great creator as well. Jacob's Points and Profits.
Jacob. All right.
Yeah, he's a good guy as well. I know Kid Cat. I don't know if is Kid Cat a creator. I know they're in the Discord community a lot, and a lot of great comments there as well.
I haven't seen any of his content, but you may be right.
Okay.
He's in the Discord a lot.
We've not met, so I couldn't say for sure. I'm sorry.
Got it. Wong Way Travels is here as well.
Wrong way. All right.
Another great content creator as well is joining in with this.
Howdy.
And Sid makes this comment that Capital One Travel Portal has Disney resorts. You can book it and get 10x with the Venture X. You can do that, but I don't believe it's a vacation package. I think it's a resort only stay. And most people in the Disney community are wanting to book one that has park tickets involved and meals and other things along those lines. And that's something I know that Disney kind of locks down to their own educated travel agencies or people that have went through the official training on that as well. So that's what I think the difference is there. Yeah.
About that. So when you have a Disney vacation, does it also include like the airfare as well? Or is it mostly just the Disney stuff?
It's mainly just the Disney stuff. You're getting your resort stay. Here in Walt Disney World, they've got the meal plan. There's a lot of debate in the member community on it. And that's like prepaid meals where you can use coupons or vouchers because we've got hundreds of restaurants here and of all different kinds of levels. So from quick service to fine dining to like almost 5-star. I don't think we're technically classified as a Michelin restaurant, but we're up there at that ranks with Victoria and Albert's because I don't think we're in the right state to be a Michelin, but we're 5 diamond from AAA at Victoria and Albert's. And I did a review on that place as well. And, but yeah, so that's kind of the thing. It's the linking the park tickets and the whole kind of vacation. And then when you go through the travel agency planner, why we recommend using them for new people is Disney World is incredibly complex. And if you're not an expert at it and you don't come all the time, you really want somebody to help you like walk you through Genie Plus, dining reservations, all of those great things that can make your resort great. And it's just too complex for somebody to just come here. And Disney's acknowledged that, which is why they try to sell it as packages through travel agents as well. And the travel agent community does a phenomenal job of it. Here in the My DVC Points community, we're like timeshare owners. And so we're in expert mode most of the time because we've spent $20,000, $30,000 and we know we're coming to Disney year after year after year. And we're seeking the value of that as well, which is why I'm not too focused on like Disney resorts. I'm throwing it out there for people who might want to come in and look at that as well. But that's kind of the reason why we don't. And this would be a good spot for me to jump in and just drop my ad read in for today's show. And huge shout out of thanks to our sponsor over at DVC Rental Store. We're talking about travel portals and all of this, but if you want to experience the magic of staying in a DVC Deluxe Villa where you get your own washer, dryer, kitchen, and you also get to stay inside the bubble, which means you've got buses that'll take you to and from the resorts. You've got all the amenities that come with staying on property at Disney. You can save 40 to 60% off Disney's rates by renting another member's Disney Vacation Club points. I've rented my points out through these guys multiple times, had a great deal. I know we've sent members to them as well, because believe it or not, when you're in the Disney Vacation Club, you want to keep coming to Disney a lot, especially once you buy an annual pass and you run out of points. So a great way to do that is to rent another member's points. Another great thing that they have over here that just is a smoking good rate is you can get on their email list. And for when you come under guest, this browse confirmed reservations, you can get stuff 70, 80% off of Disney's rates by doing it. And just come back in, like $14 a point would be a pretty fair deal. So that's 2 nights at Saratoga Springs, what is that? About under 250 a night, which is really, really, really good for that resort and that price. So huge shout out of thanks to DVC Rental Store for sponsoring our platform. And that kind of wraps up our ad read for tonight's show. Let me come back in and drop back down to our full comments here as well and catch up on those.
Before we get into the other Chase Disney card, I do want to mention, I did a live stream on this very recently, but the Robinhood Gold card is another option to have 3% cash back. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the Robinhood Gold card just because I don't feel that Robinhood is the best brokerage out there for your investments. However, they do have a lot of good promotions going on right now that can help you get that 3% Robinhood Gold card, at least on the wait list. And it's nice because if you want to not spend $100,000, hold $100,000 with Bank of America, you could only hold like $1,200 in a Robinhood brokerage account and still be able to pay off the Robinhood Gold annual fee or membership fee that can get you access to that Robinhood Gold card. So something to look into. Just want to point it out there. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I just want to make sure that the awareness was there about that card.
Yeah, that's a 3% card, and 3% on everything is great, but I'll take my 4.5. The other thing that really doesn't sit well with me with that, when you look at the history and how they handled their whole GameStop deal, I've got zero faith and trust in their executive leadership. Like, they are just dead to me. So go back and look at, there was a movie that came out all about, what happened in GameStop and the run on the bank and all of the stop stuff, right? Basically, a bunch of investors tried to drive up the price on it, and people were selling it short, and Robinhood kind of messed them all over. I want to give a high level on it. It really wasn't fair to the individuals, the small people, because their whole philosophy is Robinhood, take from the rich, give to the poor. And they just did a complete move to back up the rich people. And yeah, no integrity to me. I'm done. Not going to do anything with them. So that's kind of my take on it as well. And
you guys, what do you think? I'm curious
about Robinhood.
Yeah, the Robinhood Gold card. I'm curious what you think about it.
I mean, I know enough to know what they offer, and I listen to the Frequent Miler update on it. And I listen to a portion of your podcast on it, but I have zero expertise. My gut feeling, if I'm just going with gut feeling, is I'm going to say no. I don't think it's philosophy aside, I don't think it's sustainable. I'm guessing this is a move to bring in a lot of new customers, and I bet you in about a year or two we're going to get an announcement. Oh, psych! It's only 3% on certain things, and everything else is only going to be 2% or something like that.
And then 1% or whatever. Yeah.
Because if 3% was sustainable in the long run, someone else would have done it by now. One of the more reputable banks.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's
uncapped, supposedly.
Yeah. And Roger is saying, I love my U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve. Jacob saying, I like the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve, but I probably won't get it for a long time because I'm prioritizing staying under the Chase 524 rule with business applications. And to be honest with you, Jacob, I'm at 724, and I thought for sure I would get denied. From everything under the sun, I thought for sure. And then I don't know. Because Stan, you went through a lot of prepped in order to put in your application here, right?
I did. I wanted to make sure I had the biggest chance of approval for this card because it kind of is a hit or miss, kind of like Capital One. But I know that having a checking account with them helps, and having 0 to 1 hard pulls over the last 6 months helps. So I kind of aimed for that. I still got denied, when I applied for the card, but calling it a recon, which means you call back to the bank and kind of discuss your case with them, they were able to overturn that into an approval. And there's a video on my channel completely documenting that entire experience. But I think what would be really helpful, Chad, is if you went over what your data points were, I don't know if you want to do your credit score, but how many hard pulls you had, how many new accounts, because that's probably
yeah. So I'm 53 years old. I've been doing financial stuff very smartly for almost my entire life. So I have 0 negative hits on my credit score. It's somewhere north of 800, depending on the day.
Solid.
Right.
Nice.
So it's way up there. But I started in the beginning of the show, I've spent the last year trying out various different cards So within the last 24 months, I've opened up 7 new accounts, and I thought for sure US Bank would just deny me. But I looked, and there was only 2 accounts open on my TransUnion account. So my strategy to doing this, and this is like deep in the weeds for the credit card community space, but my strategy for doing this was to only unfreeze my TransUnion because I saw data points out there saying that US Bank only pulls TransUnion. And so that's the only one I unfroze, and it only showed 2 cards within the last 2 years, right? Both of them were Capital One pulls. And so that's the only thing that showed up there. And so I only unfroze that one. So that's all they could see. And I called and we're thinking about it. So again, I took your advice. I called the reconsideration line, and the lady was like, well, the computer's like thinking about this extra long. It looks like you're going to be approved, but I can't tell you that officially yet until it actually says you're approved. And she's like, hold on, put me on hold. 10 minutes later, she came back and said, yep, you're fully approved. Let's go over your address, confirm everything, and we'll get the card sent out to you. Cool. So that's how I did it. But I'm looking at it like, okay, I think I have found my my keeper card, like, because in my world, I can drive to Port Canaveral when I'm in Florida. I can drive to Fort Lauderdale. I don't need miles for that. What I need to figure out how to pay for is that Disney Cruise Line. And so my strategy of paying for most of it with a Disney gift card, getting 10% off, but earning 4.5 on it or 3X, and then taking my 3X and redeeming it towards the final piece of this cruise. Now, I have heard you guys talk about some caveats on this card, some like little tiny gotchas. And Dugroz, I think you were telling me one of the things of it is you have to have all of the points available to make the redemption. They won't do like a partial redemption on this. Is that been your guys' experience?
Yeah, that's correct. And I'm gonna actually split that answer into 2 pieces. To answer what you said directly, yes, you can't do partial redemptions. So if you have a let's just say you have enough points to cover half of your rental car, your cruise or whatever, that's not going to cut it. You got to have enough points for whatever it is you're redeeming. Now, you might be able to be sneaky about it. Like, you had mentioned making a partial payment or something like that. And I'd need more data points to know for sure what's allowed and what's not allowed. But there's never going to be a partial redemption option. Oh, go ahead.
Well, let's cover that. So if you can't do a partial redemption, and I know the Capital One Venture X will let you do partial redemptions. So my take on this is to use gift cards to pay for all of it, except for what I have the points to pay for. Right. Yes, because if I'm taking my family of 5 on a Disney Cruise Line, it's going to be 6, 8, 10, 12 grand or more, depending on how long the cruise is and when we're going. But even like a short 4-nighter, I'm still looking at 5 to 6 grand. Like the mouse is not for the faint of wallet. Okay.
That's for sure.
So I don't think I'm going to cover all $6,000 in reward points here, but I do think I can come up with probably $4,500 in gift cards and then get $1,500 of it covered from the reward points. And the good news is when you're paying for a Disney Cruise Line, you can have your travel agent, or if you're booking it directly through Disney, you can make payments on your cruise as you go. It all has to be paid off by a certain date, but you can call them up and make partial payments. People do that all the time. And historically, what we would do is we would say, okay, we're saving up money, and then gift cards go on sale. We'd go buy a gift card and then call up the travel agent and say, hey, here's the gift card number. Please apply it to the cruise. And then they'll call Disney or do it through their back end systems and little tiny partial payments. So my advice on this, based on what I've heard from you guys, is make a partial payment for whatever you've got points to erase.
And are you fairly confident those little tiny partial payments will still code as travel?
100%. 100%. Because I've seen them do that as well. Because they all are charges by Disney Cruise Line. So the other thing that I plan on doing with some of my points is When I'm on the cruise, I'm going to pay for what's called a placeholder with the US Bank Altitude Reserve card. And that's a $200 deposit that you put down towards your next cruise. And so Disney Cruise Line just charges your card. It comes up as DCL and $200. And then you get a wild card that says, hey, I can have 10% off my next cruise because I've already started a deposit on it. And that's another great way to save money on Disney cruises as well. So John is saying for Klook, based in Hong Kong, do I need a credit card with no foreign transaction fee? They sell Disneyland Tokyo and Universal Japan online. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm not a Disneyland Tokyo expert, and I am saving my American Express points to get flights to go over there. And so I haven't purchased that yet. And that's on my travel goals. And that's what my Amex points are all tagged for, is getting those international flights over there, is based on what I've learned from all of the credit card, creation community, is how I'm going to use my Amex points is for international travel. And then does paying taxes for award flights on the Chase Sapphire Reserve trigger the $300 travel credits? I believe it would. What do you guys think?
I think it would too. I don't have the CSR, so I can't confirm. But when you pay for taxes and you book an award flight, it does come up as like American Airlines or United or Southwest or whatever. So that should work.
I just booked 4 tickets on British Airlines and fully on points and just paid the taxes. And it didn't say taxes. It just said British Airlines. That's all it said.
Yeah.
And coded as travel. Now, at that point, it was a CSP, so I didn't have the travel credit, but I'd be 98.5% sure that it would, John.
Yeah. My take on the travel credit is because you don't earn on that. Chase doesn't let you double dip. So as soon as that statement credit hits for me, I load my Florida Sun Pass with $300 and then burn off the travel credit. And then any travel I spend on the card afterwards, I get 3X on. So that's kind of, neat and kind of geeky with that as well.
Very nice. And I'm looking at the comments. I'm seeing Chase Yokoyama's in the house, one of the big OG credit card YouTubers, saying he wants to meet up at Disney, or we can go on to DCL and really make it the happiest place on earth. So thanks for coming up by, Chase. And I think we should definitely make that happen.
Oh, I think so. Chase, you let me know.
I'm help, by the way.
Yeah, I'm down, right? I am down. So I have a Magic Key at Disneyland and an annual pass here at Walt Disney World, and I own DVC points in Disneyland and Walt Disney World too. I'm down, right? So matter of fact, I went to Epcot tonight to just pop over there and get the photo that we use for our art tonight. And so Studio, that's a great question. And what does DVC rental store code as? I have asked them, and they kind of like looked at me like I had a third eyeball right here. So I've even volunteered for them to just charge my credit card, $10, and let's see how it comes up, because I would be willing to pay $10 just to get that answer, because I knew it would come up on this stream as well. And or asking another way, what's the highest team travel card to rent DVC points with? So renting them through a broker like that, they will definitely process with a credit card as well. And I would just have to ask them what they did. I tried to get my business set up as timeshare rentals through Chase and for when I rent my points out personally, and they wouldn't let me do it. So Chase was like, nope, we don't do business with timeshare rental people. And I'm like, well, okay, I've been doing this for 6 years. I'm extremely legit and pretty high profile, but whatever, I didn't fight them. So that's a great question. I would call them and see if they could do a deposit on something and see how it codes. And then you'd kind of know. And they'll probably work with you over there if you do that.
This doesn't directly translate, but the thought of like not knowing how something's going to code brings me to another good point about the altitude reserve. Have you ever been in a situation where you have no idea how something's going to code? Mm-hmm. Like you go to a restaurant that's inside a gas station. Is it going to code as gas, or is it going to code as restaurant?
Or
guess
casino.
what? If you're using or casino or bookstore or who knows what, if you're using tap to pay with the altitude reserve, it doesn't matter. So one thing I love about using it is it takes all the mystery out. I was at my son went to a chess tournament at Iowa State University, and we ate lunch at a place that was like a cafe connected to a bookstore. So is it going to be Dining? Is it going to be bookstores? Is it going to be university? Is it going to be nonprofits? Doesn't matter. I use my Altitude Reserve, got my 3x points, which I'll use for 1.5 and net out 4.5. So I don't have to worry about what the category is.
Yeah, there you go. Right. I love that as well. I absolutely positively love that as well. And
Yeah, so for those of you who like simplicity, this is the card to get for sure, because it really takes all the questions out, all the different credit card issues that we typically have out of the picture, and it just says you get 4.5x points back on everything you can use tap to pay on. The end. It's pretty simple.
Pretty simple, right? And as long as you know you're going to be using an approved, reward vendor like a Disney hotel, Disney cruise line, a car rental company, something along those lines, I think it works great at covering all of that. And Ricky says, "Oh, I finally got an email about US Bank admitting to the issue with mobile wallet payments about 5 days ago." Yeah, so they had an issue earlier this year. Dugroz, you covered it on your channel pretty extensively, where certain people were only earning 1x on mobile wallet, but they I think they were more than fair with you from a customer service standpoint. And didn't they give you like bonus points on it and said, "Hey, take this as bonus points and we'll still make it right"?
Yeah. And we can go into details on this as much as you want. We should maybe talk about the annual fee and how to offset it at some point.
Good point. So
I was making my annual retention call anyway, which will loop back around. And I got a retention offer on that. But in addition, I said, "Hey, what do you know about this issue with mobile wallet only coding as 1x for a while? Like, in light of the inconvenience, could I get a bigger offer?" And they said, "Well, on top of your retention offer, we'll just give you 5,000 points. We called it customer appreciation points or something."
Yeah.
And that would be worth $75 if you use it with real-time rewards. So I thought that was pretty fair.
Yeah. So let's come back in and talk about the annual fee and then get to the retention offer, because I don't know that my audience would know what that is. So this card does have a $400 a year annual fee, but it has $325 in statement credits back when you spend on dining or travel. And the interesting thing is, when they issued me my card, they did not charge me the annual fee. I'm assuming as soon as the first statement issues, I'll get the annual fee. But all of my restaurant charges thus far, I've been getting text on saying that they're erasing it with the $325 credit. I'm like, I haven't even paid the annual fee yet. You're already giving me the credit. It's that easy to use. So because I think restaurants are there and so many restaurants take tap to pay, I don't think you're going to have a problem getting 3x back and getting that 325. It's just more of I think it's a move on US Bank's playbook to say, we want to make sure you're actually going to use the card and not keep it in a sock drawer.
Well, and unlike Chase, they do let you double dip on that first 325. So you still earn the points on it.
Yeah, which is awesome, because I'm earning points. I'm meeting my minimum spend retention offer, but I'm also using my $325 credit. Now, you've brought up an interesting point on your channel that every year you have to pay that. And so, you're going to get $325 back. So what we would call that would be an effective $75 annual fee. Dugroz, what's your history been with calling and complaining about the $75 or begging for mercy or whatever it is you want to call it, right?
Well, every year after my year of opening, so on my first anniversary, second anniversary, third anniversary, fourth anniversary, I have waited until the annual fee posted. And then within 30 days of that, I call US Bank and I just say, maybe not these exact words, something like this: "Hey, I noticed the annual fee posted. I know it's coming, but it always kind of sneaks up on you. Do you have any offers to help me make the decision about whether or not I'm going to keep the card or not, or any customer appreciation points or anything like that?" And you don't have to be any more detailed than that. They know what you mean. You're asking for an offer. You're asking for a freebie. And the first year, they gave me 10,000 points. The second and third year, they gave me 5,000 points. And the fourth year, they gave me 10,000 points. And then on top of that, when I complained about the missing points issue, they gave me even more. But 10, 5, 5, 10. So even if you take that lower amount, the 5,000, that translates to $75 with real-time rewards. So for me, it's always been a net effective no annual fee card after I get that retention offer. It's been totally free for me. Now, small caveat I'll throw out is I've had a relationship with US Bank since like the late 80s, because when I was a kid, I had a kid's savings account at my local bank, and that bank was later bought out by First Star, which merged with US Bank, but they recognize that as one continuous history. So they view me as like a 40-year customer of the company. So they are very relational. So would they offer it to everyone? I don't know, but I figure there's no harm in asking.
I might try it next year, but I can tell you as a legal Florida resident, they would not offer me a checking account. They would not offer me a savings account. And when I called to figure out why I couldn't do it, that's when they said, no, you can't, but you can still get the credit card. And I kind of explained the story to the rep of, you know, I've opened up all these cards. I'm, trying to figure out a way to, honestly, I was very honest. I'm trying to figure out a way to pay for Disney cruises. And these other cards I've tried, they just aren't working for that. And he encouraged me to apply anyways. And then I think I saw one of your guys' videos on it, and I was like, you know what the heck? Let's roll the dice and see what happens. And it did come through for me as well.
That's pretty solid. Yeah. I also want to mention real quick that this is probably one of the easiest statement credits to use in all of credit cards. And there are a couple of reasons for that. The first of which it's an annual statement credit, which is something that is hard and hard to come by these days. A lot of credit card issuers, namely one, which everyone in the credit community knows about, has been going into monthly statement credits, quarterly or even semi-annual. So you have to do these statement credits, to get them, you have to spend on the card each month, each quarter, each semi-annum. But this one on the US Bank Altitude Reserve is an annual statement credit. And I can guarantee that pretty much anyone watching the stream is going to spend at least $325 in a year on travel or dining. It's just going to happen. So it is really an effective annual fee of $75. So that's something that's really important to know about this as well, because even though that $400 annual fee may scare you, it really is only $75. And if you're smart like Dugroz and attach for a retention offer every single year, it can be even lower than that too. So there's a lot of opportunity with this card, in addition to what Chad was saying about using this card for all the Disney type expenses to get that 4.5x back.
Yeah, that's kind of really key. And Yana saying, I thought the terms say you can't open the checking account if there's not an existing relationship. Do credit cards not count, or did I remember it wrong? I think you can open. They were going to let me do it, and something was up with my zip code. It passed the zip code check online, but then it failed when it actually got to opening the account, and I had to call. So I think you can open up a checking account without the credit cards there.
I wonder if this person's maybe thinking of both older information and information that's backwards, because US Bank used to have a policy up until about 2 years ago that you cannot open an Altitude Reserve unless you have an existing relationship. So a lot of people had to go out and open a checking account or a lesser credit card, keep it for a year, and then apply for the Altitude Reserve. But a year or two ago, they waived that requirement. So now it might help your odds of getting approved to have some other product, but you don't have to, as Chad found out.
Yeah, you really don't. And I was reluctant from watching all of the data points out there on the videos, but the customer service rep told me, he was just like, hey, just go ahead and apply for it. I can do it right now. And I was a little scared to do it, to be honest with you. And then I just later on, I guess I got my confidence up, and what the heck, let's roll with this as well.
Well, you shot your shot and you got it.
Yeah, I shot my shot and I got it. And
so now we're all here.
Yeah, now we're all here as card holders. This is kind of my ride or die card for paying for Disney Cruise Line, because it's the one thing, like I've got the timeshare to pay for my Disney stays, got my annual pass tricks with the gift cards to renew those and do all of that. So I'm not really worried about any of that, but it was like, how am I going to tackle this Disney Cruise Line monster? Because I kind of put it on my goal to get on one of those ships at least once a year. And so that's kind of how I'm going about it now with this card. And I feel really comfortable on it. The other thing I want to give a huge shout out to is I had to call Citi this week, and you go overseas, you're talking with a third, Philippines, wherever. I'm a call center nerd by trade. US Bank has always been US based representatives, which I would be highly disappointed given their name if they weren't. Right. But that's important to me as well. I like dealing with somebody who natively talks English, and yeah, that's important to me. And I really like that about the card. Discover Bank does that as well, but all of the others seem to offshore, and I get it. There's a little bit of a savings there, but.
And even better, Altitude Reserve card holders have their own special line they can call in. And anytime I've called in, I get through almost right away. I think you only have to push one button, like push one if you want to talk to an agent. Okay, I do.
Oh,
so another trick is if you have more than one U.S. Bank credit card, call the number on the back of the Altitude Reserve because you'll get through faster. And then say, now I actually have a question about my triple cash business card. Can you help with that? And I think what it is their best agents who are trained on everything are on that line. They say, oh, I can handle that. I don't need to transfer you.
Yeah, that very well could be. I know all the call queuing and how all that works because that's what I do, but it very well could be those are your best multi-skilled agents as well.
Yeah, I actually worked in a call center for almost 6 years, so a little bit of commiseration there.
Yeah. So Francis says U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve is great for my property taxes because they take mobile wallet, and that would be a really good thing. And Ricky was saying, I heard you can open a CD with U.S. Bank even if you reside in Florida. And that very well could be the case. I don't believe in certificates of depression myself.
Ricky, I heard that too, by the way. That's been something that has been brought to my attention. And yes, you can actually open a CD when you're not available to open it if the bank's not there in your state. And then that gets you that relationship to help get you started on that.
That's a good point. That's a very good point from the relationship building standpoint as well. So I keep all of my savings over at Capital One and something that pays like 4.35.
Yeah.
And
going back to the customer service, actually, I've never called the Altitude Reserve customer service line. So Dugroz, that's really good to hear that they get you in pretty fast. The only card that's ever been really fast for me is the Chase Ritz-Carlton card. I called it on the back of the card, and it just basically it rings, and then someone picks up and says hello. There's not even like a thing to like
there's no IVR there, right?
Yeah, it's just like, hi, this is Chase Ritz-Carlton. How can I help you? It was amazing. It's better than the Platinum card, the Amex Platinum card. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I think for a lot of banks, it does depend on the time of day you call as well, or if you call during the weekends. I feel like there is a little bit of, some of them have overseas agents if you call like, at midnight in US time, for example, as opposed to calling it like, noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think there's some variation with that too.
Yeah. Very, very, very well possible things. And yeah, I know like a lot of the intricacies of the call center routing, and it's amazing on what they can get from your phone number. And we like to know who's calling us and know your caller and route them accordingly. So it's, I remember working for the auto companies, and we would look up if you just leased a car, we would send you to US based people because you haven't completed your JD Power and Associate awards yet. But if you were in the middle period where you weren't getting surveyed anymore, you went off to offshore. And then at the end of your lease, when you're up for renewal and you're shopping for a replacement, right back to our US agents. So it's a little bit of a sneaky routing thing.
That does feel sneaky.
Good to know. I never knew about that. That's interesting.
It's amazing what we look up in the systems and all of that. So very, 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 very much. And okay. Rabbit there. So Ricky's saying customer service is why I like my Amex cards. US Bank is excellent as well. So, okay. Does anybody else have any questions before we start to wrap up? I know we're kind of at our hour mark on today's show. Any final questions from anybody that's out there? And we will come back in and kind of wrap this up. You
had mentioned earlier some caveats, and I've been slowly writing them down as we go. So if you want me to come back to the caveats, let me know.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. There are some older, there used to be a rule that you had to have the equivalent of 1 cent per point to make a redemption. So if we use the example of that $1,500 redemption, you would have to have 150,000 points. They've done away with that rule, and I just verified that recently. So now you don't have to have 100,000. But if you find like an older article written from before 2003, it might say that. Just fair warning, you no longer have to have the equivalent of 1 cent per point. When you do have to go in. I don't know if you've done this yet, Chad. You have to choose your real-time reward categories because they actually have other categories like grocery and pharmacy at 1 cent per point. And you don't want to be accidentally getting texts that you respond to where you're only cashing out at 1 cent per point. So make sure at some point before you start redeeming, you set up your categories and choose just travel categories.
I remember that from your channel. And then I went in and I did that and I only turned on travel. And then they gave me 500 bonus points for signing up for real-time rewards. So I have
cool.
500 points today. And
that's an extra $7.50.
Yeah, and I've actually walked a lot of people through that actual exercise. And so when you go into the real-time rewards section in your US Bank account, you do want to click only travel categories to redeem for real-time rewards. And those categories specifically are airlines, lodging, rental cars, and other travel. Those are the 4 boxes you need to check. Every other box leave it unchecked because those are only 1 cent per point categories or 1x categories for redemption.
And you only have to do it once ever. Once you've done it, it stays forever.
And I know there's some minimum redemptions in there as well. So like isn't it like $150 for a rental car? And I remember seeing some brief terms in there.
There is. I can't remember the exact numbers, but you can choose the minimum value for real-time rewards if it's not otherwise capped by another category. So usually I think it starts at $10 and can go all the way up from there. But maybe rental cars has a specific category where it's like you have to do at least 150. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Just going from memory, and please double check this, it might be wrong. I think 150 is the minimum for rental car, and 100 is the minimum for a hotel. But everything else is $10 because I've done like an Amtrak for like $23 and had that trigger before.
Wow. That'd be interesting to note because although I wanted to pay for my Disney Cruise Line, I do buy a lot of cheap Spirit tickets and I can get them for $23, $30 each way to Orlando to Detroit. And
well, basically, if you set it up that way, as long as you get the text message, it's 1.5x, you can just click redeem because, it's the points are going to be used in one way or another. And it's still 4.5x no matter what you do, whether the money's in like, a Disney situation or an Amtrak situation, it's still money coming back.
It's still
to you,
1.5.
So.
It's all cash, but my mental accounting wants to know my Disney cruise is free, right?
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh, another interesting thing is they will base it on the pending charge, not the final charge. So like a lot of times if you rent a car, they'll tack on an extra $200 pending and then it falls off at the end. They'll trigger your real-time rewards based on that higher amount. So I think of that like a slush fund when I travel. Like, okay, they put a $200 temporary hold on that. I got credit for that real-time rewards. I've got $200 I can use for meals or sightseeing now.
Oh, or Disney park tickets or whatever, right?
Or that, yeah. I functionally just got cash at 1.5 cents each that I earned at 3 cents each.
Yeah, that's another major benefit of this card too, is that when you have a deposit hold, like Dugroz was saying, the rental car or a hotel or something, and it's like some charge, if you have enough points in your account to deal with it, you can actually redeem your points against that pending charge, even though it wasn't really a real charge, which is super cool. And so I think that's a really cool thing to know about too.
It can also be a bit of a challenge though, because if you only, if you're thinking I have just enough points to rent a car for $200 and they run the charge as $400 with the hold, you're not going to be able to use your real-time rewards. So it's just something you have to think about somewhat consciously.
Yeah, that's a really good point there. So for the My DVC Points community who's streaming into this like multi-cross universe of credit card YouTubers and Disney Vacation Club YouTuber kind of a deal, right? We're kind of what Arrowverse and the Flash kind of meet. You know what I'm saying? Those kind of a cross multi-stream show, or kind of what we've got going on tonight. I can't tell you guys and emphasize this loud enough or strong enough. Go over to Stan the Credit Frog's YouTube channel or Dugroz Reports, hit their subscribe button, check out their videos on all of this. They will go into a deep dive. And I know we got a little bit deeper into this, but we kind of pulled in some of Stan's audience into this with us and some of the credit card community with us. So we went a little deeper on this than what I intended to do, but that's okay because we gave you good information. But I just want to make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow those guys and let them come back in and handle all the deep into the weeds deal. So, because they're really, truly the experts on this card. I'm a fan of both of their channels and a fan of their content, and it led me here. And I wanted to share this with my community as well. So, Stan, Dugroz, thank you for joining us. Any final words or words of wisdom from tonight?
Well, I learned a lot about Disney, so thank you so much, Chad, for inviting me on here. And again, any questions about credit cards? I love talking about credit cards. However superficial or deep, I think it's an amazing topic, and I can talk about it all day, just like I know Dugroz can as well. And so we have our own videos and our own lives about credit card related topics. And so if you want to go into a deep dive on any of your favorite cards, just make sure to check out our channels. Again, my name is Stan. I'm the channel runner for Stan the Credit Frog.
And
I don't know that I can build on that at all. Just thank you for having us.
I can build on it a little bit because
go ahead.
Let me do a pitch here for why I love, Dugroz's channel and his deal. He comes at this like he's an everyday dad who's just trying to work a budget, work a pinch the pennies, get some free travel for his family, right? And most of us that are in my community are trying to get more mouse for our money. And because the mouse will shake you down. It is not for the faint of wallet. And if I can do something that'll help you guys come out there and go from 1 or 2% on a Chase Disney card to 4.5%, I think I've done you a solid. And that is the content that Dugroz does. He did another one on like vacation rentals through Vacasa and some crazy redemptions out there, and went to what was it, Scotland or Ireland or
Wales, actually.
Wales. Okay. Wales.
Yes.
So yeah. Anyways, guys, give him a shout out as well. And looking at some of our comments here is Chase, another great guy in the credit card space. Call me Lonnie, excuse me. Another great guy in the credit card space.
What's up, Lonnie? Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, we are looking forward to doing a Disney content creator meetup here in Orlando, or a credit card creator meetup here in Orlando 2025. And I'm looking forward to hosting that with these guys. I think we're probably going over to Epic Universe, though, to be honest with you. I know some of the guys are talking about drinking around the world, and I'll gladly host and tour guide for that as well. But I know we want to all go to Epic Universe in 2025 as well. So as always, guys, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you found something in today's episode that will help you go out there and plan something magical for your family. And a huge shout out to our sponsors over at World of DVC. That includes DVC Resale Market, the world's leader in DVC resales, DVC Rental Store, the largest US-based rental company that's out there, and Monera Financial. If you're looking to purchase a DVC contract, you can talk to any of those people over there. Monera will finance it for you if you're really bent on that. My own financial stuff on that, I don't know that I would finance one. And I've been very honest with the sponsors, but I just want to let you know that's an option that's out there. And I've heard of people doing really good short-term financing on it. Like they know a bonus is coming and they want to buy their contract, so they'll finance it and there's no early payoff fees as well. So Monera Financial has got your back. Thanks for tuning in. Stan, thank you so much for joining us. Dugroz, thank you for joining us. We've been working on this episode for probably a month or two in the making. So thanks, everybody. And you guys have a great night.
Thanks so much.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, please watch your head and step as you exit, and take small children by the hand.
Aw, chill up, Dad. You know I'll come back. With DVC.